Yo, guys, what's up? I was actually making a post on Instagram letting people know that we're going live.
I
So
was wondering what you were doing. I was like, he's talking or doing something back. I could see you like in the background. I'm like, what is
yeah,
he doing?
it's pretty
Very
funny.
good.
But welcome back to Image of the Invisible, the podcast. But guys, it has been crazy weekend for me. I got sick and I had a really, really stinking bad headache yesterday. So we had to push the podcast or the stream, I guess the live stream, I guess you would call it, until today. But guys, we are here. We are live. Hopefully people will join us. If not, you can watch on reruns. And guess what? We're broadcasting, I think, everywhere now because hopefully the other place that shall remain nameless will not be as strict now since things have changed in the US. It seems like everywhere is getting a little bit more lenient on people and their content, which is good.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see how that goes. I think today will be a good episode. We have a lot of things to talk about, but first and foremost, Jason is recovering from a awful cold, which is why
Yeah.
he sounds nasally and all that
Yeah.
stuff, which is why we're recording today because he had a crazy migraine yesterday. But yeah, so you've been recovered, so you seemed like you're doing a lot better than you were yesterday.
Yeah, I think I'm doing better. My wife got me this little shot of gosh, I don't know what it was. It had elderberry in it and like a bunch of other things. Different like juices and like maybe turmeric and like maybe some spices or something. I don't know. But I drank that and it actually I don't know if it was that, but I felt so much better this morning after drinking that. Which kind of leads me into what I wanted to talk about, kind of tease Phil about it. Since all this stuff, since everyone's getting more lenient on what is said on social media and just everywhere, it seems like there's a lot of stuff coming out. I don't know if you've noticed on, I guess, any social media platform. There's just everyone's talking about alternative medicines and stuff right now, and stuff that like was like a no to talk about. It's everywhere now, and like even doctors and stuff are coming out and like, yeah, this actually works. Um, the one specific thing is like the ivermectin, which was a really no that's not, that does not work. No one take that. That's the worst thing you could do. You could wait. Well, to come to find out, even scientists and doctors are coming out now saying that the ivermectin actually helps with like cancer and like it's actually been tested, and the doctor that created ivermectin actually won a Nobel Prize for it. And back before I guess all these other medicines and stuff that we have today, back when ivermectin was invented, it was used to treat all this stuff that like apparently it's parasites are more than what we think they are, is what everyone's saying. Like cancers and all of these other things are products of parasites in our system. And even I heard this one guy talking about viruses and how viruses aren't, they can't really prove that there's actual a virus or something like that. I'm quoting or misquoting what the guy said. I saw it like a couple weeks ago, but he said like most of the time it's like a parasite, not a virus that you have. And that's just crazy to me. My cat is attacking me. But anyways, and now my camera's gone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Attack of the Cats.
But you can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
That's all that matters. But yeah, so I mean, that's just a really crazy thing that's came out, and I have been just like watching all these videos and just soaking up all the information and all these people that are, have testimonials of where this has actually helped them. And there's that I don't know, something blue, some name with the blue at the end. It's like some sort of drops. It's a dye for
Yes.
I don't, for like, is it like a clothing dye or some sort of dye, but it like
something like that. Yeah.
It actually goes into your system, and then if you use a certain light wave, then it will cut off I guess blood flow to like cancers or something like that. It's very weird. I'm gonna try to fix my camera, but yeah, hopefully I'll be back. Oh, look at that. That's kind of cool. The little logo is talking.
Yeah.
Cat is still rubbing on the camera, dude.
Dude, your cat is so cute.
Yeah. But
yeah, because I think most famously, was it Mel Gibson that was on Rogan and he was talking about that very thing?
yeah, that's that was the first time that I had saw something about it, and I was like, wow, that someone like that, it speaks volumes. Even though I know who knows what happened with Mel Gibson back in the day, but there's a lot of people that were hating on him. I don't know what all was going on with that, but well, my camera's not coming back, guys. I'm sorry.
That's all it took was one rub of the camera with the cat, and now there it is.
Is it back?
You're back. Yeah, you're back now. Man. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did see. Now you're gone again. I did see that. I saw that clip going around. Actually, I was watching it right before we hopped on. There you go. I was seeing it right before we hopped on. Actually, the clip with Mel Gibson and Rogan and stuff like that. And then I saw another clip of Rogan talking about. This is probably an older clip where he had Bobby on there, and he was talking about the gum or like the chemical in your brain. I can't remember, Tremecin or whatever it is. It begins with a T. I don't remember, but it's like there's this gum out there that he was talking about. This gum that like you can chew that has that chemical in it or whatever, and it can. Because he had a guy on, or didn't have a guy on, but he was talking about another guy. I can't remember the guy's name, but he said that most people are only operating at like 55% capacity or something like that. And this chemical can help you, think faster, put string sentences together better, and like remember more and all that kind of stuff. So,
oh, dude, you just reminded me of something. I think I saved it. There was this, gosh, I think they said he was a millionaire. I don't know. You know how those things are. This millionaire.
Oh yeah, like on TikTok or Instagram or something. Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it because I was very shocked by what they were saying. Hopefully I saved it. We'll see. Yeah, here we go. Hopefully I'm just gonna play it from my phone to the camera.
Yeah.
Extremely careful because there is a target on his back after what he just said. Watch this carefully because you are not going to see this anywhere else.
Right now is the very first time in human history where you can say with a straight face, you may not die.
Do you believe that?
Oh, no question.
It's hard to believe tech millionaire Brian Johnson is 46 years old, but no matter his chronological age, he's striving for the biological age of an 18-year-old.
And this is what I take on a daily basis of supplements. It's alphabetized, and we have a year supply of everything we do.
Now listen to what he says he takes because this is where things get really interesting.
One of the most common questions we get is, do we take NR or NMN? Both of these are supplements that people take to increase their intracellular NAD levels. Now, as we age, these levels go down, so to supplement them, you want to be brought back up. For the NR, I tried True Niagen, and for NMN, I tried J Infinity's Vitality. They both worked. They both allowed me to achieve NAD levels equal to a 16-year-old.
So he's talking about increasing his NAD levels, which studies have shown can have a monster impact on you physically and mentally. But like he said, as we age, our NAD levels basically disappear, which is what can lead to things like these deep lines around the eyes and face, weak and fragile bones and joints, and even that mental cloudiness.
It's crazy.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to look that up.
That dude has reversed his age, and he looks younger. They showed pictures of what he looked like and then what he looks like now. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to take a look at that because that is definitely
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Mental cloudiness.
Oh, there it goes again. Yeah, so something else interesting that popped up actually was today. It actually popped up on my For You on my YouTube channel that has all of the WrestleFest stuff on it. And yeah, I do like watch a lot of sermons on there. But what's really strange about this recommendation is it comes from a person I don't even follow, and it comes from a person that doesn't even have like a crazy following. I think he's got maybe 7,000 subscribers or something. So what's really strange about this video is the subject of the video, and I'm just going to play it and then we'll talk about it because it's something that we had talked about a few months ago.
Okay.
What's going on, chosen family? Listen, I have another message from the Lord that I have written down right here. Okay, you are not going to want to miss this. This is for somebody specifically. Okay, this is very detail oriented. The Lord will do this from time to time, but it's interesting how he's speaking to me in this message. He doesn't typically do this, so I just want to get straight into this message. And if this word is for you, you'll know it's for you. Okay, let's get into it. The Lord says, "My peace be upon you." He says, "My work shall not be done in vain." He says, "I am shifting you. I'm urging you to go forth." Okay, now this is where things kind of get interesting when he speaks this to me, right? He says, corruption in our justice systems. And he said right now, this is for somebody specific. Dial in. It's time to expose. They are in danger of my wrath. Now he says this. I've never heard the Holy Ghost say this to me before, ever in my life. But he says, corazón, which means heart in Spanish. The Lord says, heart check. Okay, and he gave me 1 Kings 21, which actually tells back to the story of Ahab, Jezebel, and Naboth. This is what I'm discerning right now. There is a spirit of Jezebel at work that has been intimidating you to not speak on something you're supposed to be speaking on. Now, if you go back and you look at that story, Ahab wanted to purchase Naboth's vineyard. Okay, he wanted to buy this, but Naboth said, "No, I'm not selling you my vineyard. This has been in my bloodline for a long time. I'm not doing it." And Jezebel went up to Ahab because Ahab was in his feelings, in depression, laying around, and she said, "Aren't you the king? What are you doing?" So she had him killed. She had Naboth killed, set up and killed, so Ahab could go and buy the vineyard. And the thing is, Ahab was just as guilty as Jezebel because he did absolutely nothing about it. He didn't go and say, "Hey, my wife had this guy killed. We need to have her arrested." He didn't do anything about it. He was just as guilty as Jezebel in what she did. So I don't know who this word is for, but it's time to expose whatever. I don't know if it's in your workplace. I don't know if it's in the church, in the ministry. It's time to bring darkness, bring the darkness into the light. Okay. This word is for somebody. God has been speaking to you about exposing something, revealing something, and this is going to be your confirmation. The Lord just said it right now, that these people are in danger of his wrath. I just feel the heaviness of this word. Okay. But listen, I felt led to get on here and release this word today. I hope this word helps somebody and opens the eyes. Maybe.
So, yeah, so interesting. Now, I don't know who that message is really for and what specifically what they need to expose or whatever. But the correlation I thought was the spirit of Jezebel.
Yeah, definitely.
Yet again, the spirit of Jezebel coming up again all these months later. It seems to be like a recurring theme. And I sent that to Jason today, and his one response was Jezebel.
I was at work and I didn't have really much time to.
Yeah, no, but that's exactly why I shared it to you, because I was like, I just thought it was very odd that, all these months later, this random video, the only video that's ever been recommended to me on this YouTube channel ever, the first one was this video from a guy I don't even know who he is, never seen before. So I just thought it was interesting enough to play for sure.
Yeah,
But I don't know what that means though. Do you have it? I mean, no one knows what that means as far as like, unless it's the person. But yeah,
I don't know. It's definitely like, hold on. Excuse me, guys. I'm still getting over being sick. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, how God works. And, I mean, he could be, using our podcast to get it to someone, from him to us to whoever listens to us. Maybe it's something for someone. But yeah, definitely, exposing something. I don't know. There's something that needs to be exposed, but I don't know what.
Yeah, some sort of evil or something, and someone's afraid to expose that evil, but bringing the evil into the light, which is definitely in the Bible for sure. So I just thought it was interesting enough to play. I thought it was so strange, because it was like the only For You that's ever come up on there. And so this morning when I saw it, I was like, I was like, you know what? I have to listen to this. I was like, so I pulled it up and listened to it immediately. I literally pulled over my truck and listened to it this morning. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I need to download this. And so like I immediately screen recorded it so we could play it tonight. So so if you're out there and that message is for you, there you go.
Yeah. And let us know, because that would be cool if this was like a vehicle to get it to you. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of cats, got my little cat here, Tom, was begging to get inside this room so he could be a part of the podcast as well. And of course, now my camera is all like fuzzy, but there he goes. All right, he's gone. All right. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
As soon as he jumped up, the camera is like all
I don't know, something with cats and cameras. I don't know.
Just needs to refocus. There we go.
There's something else I wanted to talk about. Actually,
yeah, sure.
Before I go into that, because I know you have more. Let me, back it up. Pretend like this is the beginning of the show. Guys, check out fattack.com for all your tactical needs. They have you covered, big or small. They have all your tactical stuff. They have up to 5X in vest for body armor. They have holsters. They have everything. Check out fattack.com. And it's hard to talk with your nose stuffy.
Oh, for sure. It definitely is, for sure. So kudos for you for powering through this, for sure. Yeah.
Also, Black Diamond Guns and Gear, I want to give a shout out. They moved over to Rumble recently, and their channel is just freaking blowing up. I mean, they have like, I don't know, like 50,000 followers already on Rumble.
Oh, really? Wow, good for them.
Crazy. Yeah, they're blowing up.
Yeah, and they've been really supportive of us too, which is awesome. So yeah, big shout out to them as well.
Yeah, and Josh is supposed to be coming on sometime. I talked
cool.
about coming on and talking, and maybe us going on his, because he does the podcast also. Going over there talking with him. So yeah,
that's awesome. So earlier in the week, we had posted on the Instagram page, or I don't even know how to. Yeah, I guess channel page. I don't know. I think it's page still. I don't know.
Page. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the Instagram page, self-centeredness is a prison. Which is a clip from our good friend Dan Mulder. We've become a Dan Mulder podcast now. But it was just such a powerful message about self-centeredness and how it's a prison because why should I talk about it? We'll just let him talk about it. So I'm just going to play that right now. And I'm trying to play it and have us in the background. I have that option selected, but for the last video, it did not do that. So I don't know if it's going to do it this time. I mean, it's not a big deal because we'll just let it play.
Okay.
Now, here's what we don't understand. Self-centeredness is a prison. It's a lockdown, shut down prison where you're under the control of everything in your environment, every person and everything. When you defend yourself, you're subject to be overtaken. It's a prison sentence. You're lonely. You're alone, you're always in need, and anybody can rub you wrong anytime because they don't fit your desires. So now your preferences are Lord instead of Jesus. And I promise you, self-centeredness is a prison. Let's make sure now that we've come to Christ for forgiveness, we don't still serve a life sentence to self-centeredness. Self-centeredness is the reason for every argument, every discouragement, every weary and well-doing, every offense and every unforgiveness flows from the wellspring of self-centeredness. If you weren't thinking for yourself and you were thinking for the kingdom, you wouldn't be hurt, you wouldn't be offended, you wouldn't be angry. The Bible doesn't say control your anger, it says put it off. That means anger is only found in a man living for himself. That means if I put it off, I actually have a love for you. I can see your value. And even if you do wrong, I understand Jesus now. Forgive them, Father. They don't know what they do. It's just too easy to stereotype and judge and read a book by the cover and never get to the inner chapters of purpose and destiny. And just write people off because you don't appreciate their personality, or get into a room and have first impressions and gravitate to the ones you're comfortable with and avoid the ones that you're a little freaked out by. None of that is the kingdom of God. None of that will overtake the world with his goodness. None of that is shining a light. Are you following me?
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just like super, super powerful. Because it is true, you know, you have to die to yourself and all that stuff. You know, die to your own self-interest. And, you know, if you are self-centered, he's right. You're gonna be hanging on everyone's word. You're gonna be offended. You know, how can you live a Christ godly life when you're self-centered? So,
Gosh, you know how hard that is, though, dude.
oh,
When you're in the
absolutely.
moment and so like someone's attacking you or just, you know, cutting you down, how hard it is to just look at them as they're a forgiven being, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And but all, you know, whenever someone is doing that to you, all you see is the words that are cutting you, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just want to, you know, punch them in the face.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to, you know, turn the other cheek like Jesus says, and
Yeah.
you know, and all that stuff. And it's so hard to die to yourself and to die to your self-interest, because it says in the word that in order for you to gain your life, you have to lose your life.
Yeah.
You know, and those that, you know, try to hang on to their life lose their life, and that whole thing, which I don't remember exactly where that is, but it's just so powerful. And just, I mean, it's simple but powerful at the same time, which is why I
Mhm.
like Dan Mohler a lot. But yeah, just I thought it was just such a powerful little snippet clip, and so that's why I kind of posted it, and
Oh yeah.
which is why I posted it, and which is why we're talking about it right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Because self-centeredness is a prison, and you know, we're called to be selfless and not self-centered. So,
Hmm.
but like you said, it is very difficult to live that way,
Gosh, it
you
is.
know,
I,
because it goes against every human nature. It goes against every single thing you've been taught your whole life, as far as what the world teaches you, you know, about, you know, you got to stick up for yourself. You got, you know, all those things that they've taught us throughout our whole entire life. It literally throws all that stuff right out. You
yeah,
know, so it's very hard. You know, like I said many times, we're supposed to be separate from this world and not a part of this world. But when you're raised in this world from birth, and you're influenced by this world from birth, whether you realize it or not, you are. And so yeah, it's very difficult. But what I feel like, once you kind of like realize these things and you hear them and you take them into your heart, I think it's easier to try to live that way, or at least try to be more mindful of it in the moment. You know, you're not going to be perfect. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to, you know, nail it every single time. But you know, if you have this in your mind and in your heart, then I think you can really, really, you know, kind of change and live your life a different way.
yeah.
So another part of the podcast I kind of wanted to switch into is faith triumphs and troubles, or another way to put it is glorying in your tribulations. Now, the main verse that Dan speaks about in his message here is from Romans 5:1 through 4. Therefore, having been justified by faith, we have the peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Verse 2, through him we have access by faith into his grace in which we stand, and rejoice in the hope of the glory of God. Verse 3, and not only that, but we also glory in our tribulations, knowing that our tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, and character, hope.
Yeah.
Which is such a powerful message. And I'm going to play this first clip here. I'm going to try to do picture in picture. I don't know if it's going to work. It just keeps on like cutting us out, but it's okay.
Satan could care less if we come to church. He's just going to make sure we don't shine. And when you squeeze an orange, you expect orange juice. And when you squeeze a Christian, you ought to get Christ. This is the principle I'm preaching off of. Because when you squeeze a Christian, you get what they believe, You get what they don't understand, you get what they haven't been transformed in, and you actually get where they're living from, because you know them by their fruit. We better learn the power of this thing and understand where adversity comes from. Now, I'm going to try to teach you this before I have to quit here. And if you can get this, it's going to change everything for our lives. This isn't correction. This is trying to keep us from being deceived and getting pummeled when we never have to be. Glorying in our tribulations. You know as well as I do, people are praying for no tribulation. People are thinking that if something's going wrong in their life, they're missing something in their faith. The Bible says, don't think it's strange. Your brothers over the world are going through the same things you're going through. Stuff is going to happen because you're in a war. And you're enlisted in the war by him, and no one enlisted in this war ever again entangles himself with the affairs of this life. So when adversity comes, its design is to break you. But if you live in faith, it'll actually make you according to Scripture. So Satan is convinced he can discourage and break every person. 1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strike, you're out. They'll quit. They'll go to church, but they won't be engaged. They might stay in their Bible group, but they won't be effective and walk in the light. They'll get beat down. Their story will become them. And I got them. And even though they're born again, and even though the Spirit of God's in them, he will be so suppressed through the lack of understanding, I will win and destroy them. That's the devil.
Yeah.
So powerful. What sticks out to you the most about that little analogy that he put? This first clip, I should say.
You know, I've been, you know, I saw the title earlier that you had labeled this podcast, and I was just thinking about, well, I mean, this kind of it kind of fits in with that. So I'm not not trying not to answer your question. I'm just telling you my whole thing. So I was just thinking back to like tribulations that I have been through personally, and just like losing my mom, and then like a year later my dad passed away, and I'm an only child, and having to go through that essentially, you know, well, my wife was with me, but you know, essentially by myself, and taking care of, you know, all their belongings, their house, their, you know, everything, and how hard that was. There's no way I could have made it through that without God being there, you know. And that was a tribulation for me, you know. That the tribulation is something that is a test, essentially a test or a trial, and it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. You know, all the memories you have to sort through, it's so painful. And I mean, hopefully no one will have to go through that, but I mean, it's a fact of life that, you know, odds are you're going to have to go through that. But yeah, I mean, God was there and helped me get through that. And it's just, I can't put it into words. It's just like this presence that's with you, and like telling you it's going to be okay. You know, I've got you. You know, this is part of life. This is the way things have to happen. My wife, whenever we got married, my mom had been sick for a long time. She had kidney disease. She had diabetes, and then, you know, had kidney disease from the diabetes. And she you know, was pretty much bedridden. And my wife told me that she felt like it was God speaking to her, and said that you know, my mom was going to live to see her grandchildren. And then sure enough, after we adopted Leia, shortly after, my mom passed away. But yeah, it was a lot. And then like my dad, who's one of the greatest people, growing up, you know, he was a man's man, you know. He, you know, didn't really, he was always working on something or building something. So our relationship, we had a really good relationship, but it wasn't, you know, that good. You know, he was, you know, like I said, a man's man, you know. But you know, he's always good to me. I'm not saying that or anything. But he, like, when my mom got sick, he took care of her. Like, whenever she was pretty much, bedridden and couldn't get up, he, bathed her, changed her clothes, made her food. I mean, just pretty much gave up everything to take care of her. And that is one of the best signs of marriage, of what a husband is supposed to do, be the head of the household, take care of your family, take care of your wife. And he essentially gave up everything and took care of my mom, and she needed help the most. And, most people, would have just, well, where do I sign her up to get her in a nursing home? And he did not do that. And I guess my dad had been sick for a while, but he didn't tell anyone that he was sick. So after my mom passed away, he was telling me that he's like, I can't swallow. And he was just saying he had really bad indigestion. And so my wife and I were like, well, take Prilosec, do all this. And because he refused to go to the doctor. And finally he called me one day at work and he was like, hey, I think I need to go to the hospital. I was like, all right. I knew it was serious then, So I'll never forget, I got off work. I left, I got him, took him to the hospital, and the doctor came in there and like saw him and stuff, and then took me outside, and he was like, how long has he been sick? And I told him. He's like, well, he's got a pretty advanced stage of esophageal cancer, and at this point there's really nothing we can do. So I was like, well, how long do you think he has? And he's like, well, probably, like a month or two. And I was like, okay. So I went and talked to my dad. He was, fine. He was, he loved Jesus. He knew, where he was going to go. So he wasn't very distraught. The third day in the hospital, he was getting a little more upset, he was going to go home the next day, go back to his house, because that's what he wanted. He didn't want to die in hospital. He wanted to die at home. So they called me. He was like, okay, we're getting him ready to go home. How is he going to stay home by himself? And I was like, well, he's fine. He can take care of himself. And they're like, no, he can't. I was like, what are you talking about? So I leave work again, go to the hospital, and he just is in like a vegetative state, and it went like that fast, like a day. I mean, he was fine the day before, and then he was just laying there, his mouth agape, his eyes open, just couldn't communicate or anything. And they're like, well, he signed and said he wanted to go home. He didn't want to be here, and he didn't want to, to be resuscitated, because if he wanted to be resuscitated, they would have to keep him in the hospital or something like that, I think. So anyways, they sent him home, and they said they were going to send hospice out. And before hospice could get there, he had passed away. But I was there. My wife, my kids were there with him. His best friend, I called him. He came over, and some of my best friends that grew up, at the house with us, and he was pretty much a dad to them too. They were there, and we were all there with him whenever he passed. And it's just, man, it's rough. But that's probably one of the toughest things I've ever had to go through. And without God, I totally wouldn't have made it, not at all. Because at that same time, I was having a really hard time at work. My boss was a real jerk, and it was like, gosh, I ended up having to get on medication for anxiety, because that's how bad it was at work. But yeah, so it just, without God, I don't think I could have made it. I mean, it was, losing two parents, both your parents within like a year is something that, it's, I don't wish on anyone,
Yeah, for sure.
I was just, sorry if I just went off on a tangent, but I just was thinking about that, my tribulations, and, I just wanted to share that. I don't think I've ever talked about it.
No, not at all. And that's like that's probably the most severe tribulation anyone could probably go through, besides maybe like losing a child or something. Like because losing your parents is right up there too. Just because like you said, like it's a part of life. It's something that we're all gonna have to go through at some point. Like it's always in the back of your mind. You're like, but you always think, oh, you always think they're going to be like really old when they pass away or something like that,
Yeah.
and hopefully, that is the case for most people, but you just don't know when your time is up, and when the Lord's going to take you home. But like you said, the Lord kept you through that and help you get through all that stuff, and what I like what he said in there is like when you squeeze a orange, you get orange juice.
Mhm.
It'd be weird if you squeeze an orange and you get apple juice. You'd spit it out immediately because you'd be like, well, what's going on here? This isn't supposed to be, but when you go through those tough situations, when you get squeezed, Jesus, if you're really leaning on the Lord, Jesus will come out.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're leaning on, because you can't lean on your own strength in those kind of situations. You know what I mean? Because you have to lean on the Lord, because that's where your strength comes from. You know what I mean? To try to do it on your own is just very, very difficult, because I lost my dad in 2021 to cancer. And it was a very difficult time, but without the Lord, like you said, like it would have been so much worse. And looking back on it now, like I look back and I'm like, thank God it happened the way that it did. My dad didn't have to suffer long.
Yeah.
He found out he had cancer again, because he had cancer. He beat it. He got better. And then a few years later, he got cancer again. And when he found out, he passed away within 2 weeks. And he really only suffered for maybe a few days in the hospital, where some people get cancer, suffer for years before they pass away. You know what I mean? And he wasn't suffering really at all until the very end. So I consider that a blessing. You know what I mean? That he didn't have to go through all that long suffering and all that stuff. Like he basically went downhill pretty quick, and the Lord took him.
Yeah.
And he was in peace when he went. You know what I mean? So I looked at as as a fiery trial. And First Peter 4:12. Suffer for God's glory, the thing says. But beloved, do not think it strange considering the fiery trial which is trying you, as though some strange thing happening to you. But rejoice to the extent that you take part of Christ's suffering, that his glory is revealed, so you may be glad and exceedingly with joy. Which is very, very tough, to deal with sometimes. Like, I mean, obviously we're talking about the most extreme cases of tribulation. Obviously there's other tribulations that aren't nearly as bad as that, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But when you go through like a very, very intense trial, like what, you went through, when other trials come your way, it doesn't seem as nearly as bad as that. You know what I mean? And then you can experience that joy on the other side, because what the verse is saying is that Jesus suffered on the cross for our sins. And so by you taking part of your suffering, you're joining in him with your suffering, and he with his suffering as well. Because his suffering was the ultimate sacrifice and the ultimate suffering.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to be, on that cross, broken and beaten and bloody, and have all his friends and all the people that loved him abandon him, and like his suffering was far greater than any of our sufferings, for sure.
Yeah.
But not only that, another verse I wanted to say, some other verses about like spiritual warfare stuff, kind of talking about, I think we've mentioned these verses before. It's in Revelation 12. Do me a favor. Can you look up John 12:25 for me?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to look up Revelation 12:11. And I think we've mentioned this before. Here's Revelation 12:11. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not love their own lives unto death. It's kind of talking about, kind of like that kind of goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier with like self-centeredness and not loving your own life, because if you which goes right into your verse, John 12:25.
Yeah, it says, "Whoever loves his life loses it, and whoever hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life."
Yep. Yep. Which is very, it's like I said, that goes and it flies in the face of everything that we're taught our whole entire life, you
Yeah.
know. And it's when you read that verse for the first time, you're like, well, what do you mean? Like, does it mean like I want to die? It's like, no, 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 no. That's not what that's saying at all. It's talking about self-centeredness. Essentially, what that means, and giving up your own self-interest and your own life for his life, living a godly life and living the life that the Lord wants you to live and replicating him in you, and so, which is super, super important. But yeah, no, thank you for sharing that, man. I don't think you've
Yeah.
ever told me that before.
I don't think I've, told many people, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's just like not like something that like, it's like with my dad too. Like I don't really talk about it all that much,
Yeah.
not because I don't want to talk about it. It's just, I know my dad, is with the Lord now, and he's not suffering anymore, and he's in such a better spot now than he was at the end of his life. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just like one of those things that like you don't talk about. One thing that I've heard before, I'm trying to think of how they worded it. Like the fiery trials and the awful things that happen in your life, whether it's like, losing a loved one, or me getting expelled from school, or, going through what I went through 6 months ago, or all these things that have happened to you. Like it's important that you remember it happened to you, but don't let it become
you.
yes,
Essentially, yeah.
yes, and be stuck in there, that kind of stuff, and because that happens to people a lot,
Yeah.
and into even things that like smaller things that people can get like stuck in the past, or like stuck in the things that and hurts and past hurts, and we've kind of talked about these things many times before. Don't let it become your story, because there's so much more to life than those things, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and the Lord can get you through all those things. And like we said before on here, like I think we even said it last week, the Lord can use your story and use your testimony to help someone else that's possibly going through something similar.
Yeah.
And you can be that comfort and be like, you know what, look, I understand that, you're going through a hard time, you're losing a loved one, or you're whatever the case may be, fill in the blanks. But the Lord can get you through these things, and and be there for you, and you can experience joy again, you can experience happiness again, you can experience all the wonderful things of life that the Lord wants you to experience.
Yeah. 100%. I was looking through my phone here. I was just like wondering if I had a picture of my parents. I have a picture of my dad on here, so
Oh, I'd love to see it.
I'm about to sneeze all on.
Bless you.
It sucks being sick, guys. I'm
Yes,
actually
it does.
better than I was, though. So yeah, my dad and I, we look a lot alike. So it's my dad.
Oh my gosh, yeah, for sure.
Look at my
Even
dad glasses.
even the yeah, no, legit, even the beard too.
Yep. So
That's awesome. Like father, like son.
that's right.
Yeah, I look a lot like my dad too, actually, as well. I don't have a picture of my dad on the. Do I? I don't think I do on the ready, but I'll have to find one for sure. Another verse I wanted to read was 1 Peter 1:18, whom having not seen you love, though now you do not see him, yet believing in Jesus. That's what that means. You rejoice with joy inexpressible and full of glory. And the reason why I read that is because it says, it's basically, that means like, blessed are those who believe in the Lord having not even seen him, yet you believe. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to be a disciple or to be someone that was healed by Jesus when they're right there and they believe because they had a healing or they saw him perform these miracles. But blessed are the people that have not seen him but yet believe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's one thing I wanted to play. And which kind of leads me into clip 2 here.
Guys, we can live this. You haven't seen him, but you love him in this situation, and now you don't see him, but yet believing. This is what I've never seen. This is what I never see, people. We got to start living this. yet believing we rejoice with inexpressible joy and full of glory. I don't see that when people are in trials. I see tears, prayer requests, fear, and appointments. I'm just being honest. I don't see that because we haven't understood that we're not here to survive. It's impossible to be a Christian for you. You have to be a Christian for his great name. And if you're really a Christian for his great name, that'll be found as genuine in the midst of pressure. So Satan brings the pressure to prove you're not surrendered. God lets it unfold to let you reveal your heart. He's not interested in stopping the adversity because the adversity is a tool to reveal your sincerity. We think when stuff's going wrong, why is God letting this happen? We turn it into a parable. What's he trying to teach me? What door did I open? Instead of, wow, here's Satan trying to break me and everything I'm growing in. Might as well be the wise man. Let the storm beat on the house will stand, and let's keep growing. I'm going to submit to God, resist the devil, he'll flee, he'll get the idea. The more you touch me, the more you make me.
So that clip right there reminds me of what I went through this past summer. Like specifically where like, you know, you're like, oh, why is this happening to me? Why, you know, what door did I open? What, you know, like all those things he said there, like really hit me, to me, because it's like, what I need a therapy session. I need this thing and that thing. And I'm not saying those things are bad, but you know, you tend to, when you're going through a fiery trial, like what I went through, you tend to focus on yourself more.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on the Lord. Now, which I tried not to do. I tried to focus on the Lord more. One thing I did like what he said there is you can't be a Christian for you, but you have to be a Christian for his great name.
Yeah.
You know? And so when you're having a bad day at work or you're going through a season like when you went through with your job and all the things that you're going through, you know, it's very easy to get self-focused and self-centered and be like, you know, Lord, why are you doing this to me? Why you let this happen? Whereas sometimes it's kind of like with Job, what Job went through, where the Lord, you know, I would say let Satan tempt Job and like take things away from Job just to see how Job would react. You know what I mean? That's exactly how it went. And Job reacted the right way every single time.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? So, and that's what happens with a fiery trial. And usually fiery trials are kind of like what you went through with your job or what I went through with, you know, with my scare this past summer, you know, like with those sorts of things, you know, like Satan will turn up the pressure on you to see how you will react. You know, will you blame God or will you stand strong and firm in your belief in the Lord? You know what I mean? So like, those are the kind of things I think he's talking about here specifically with those kind of those types of trials. So I think it's super, super important to like realize it while they're happening, which I think is very, very difficult in the moment. But once you kind of like put these things into your heart and like the next time, you know, you have a bad day at work or, you know, things just aren't going your way, you know, whether that's at your job or, you know, with a relationship with someone or at your church or, you know, whatever the case may be, X, Y, and Z, like remember this stuff, you know, because it could be a fiery trial that is coming against you to see how you will react in that situation.
Yeah.
You know, to see if you will shine, you will let the light shine through you, or you get self-focused and self-centered and be like, you know, why is this happening to me? Why me? Why, that sort of thing. And another thing I liked what he said there, the more you touch me, the more you make me. You know, because I think he said this before where I don't know if he's going to say it in this next clip or if I didn't pull it, but is I think he says something like the devil runs a risk every time he goes to touch you, that, you know, because you could either respond one of two ways, you know, the way I was kind of talking about before where you're kind of blaming God or you're being like, why God me, or he runs the risk of making you. And you actually stepping out and believing in the Lord and letting his light shine through you. So next time
that's what happened with us.
Yeah.
He came at us and we're like, he didn't, there's no way the devil expected, I'm just going to quit AFK discussions and make a Christian podcast.
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. You know what I mean? Same thing with me too. You know, he didn't expect me to go fully in and with God and quit ghost hunting and do all the, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't expect that at all. You know what I mean? Because if he didn't, he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But that's the risk he runs when he does those kinds of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I don't know if you have anything else to add to that clip or not.
Oh no, go ahead. I think
Okay,
I think you got it pretty much covered, dude.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to play this next clip here. This is a very short clip.
Jesus didn't say when we preach a gospel that sends people to heaven to every corner of the earth that he's going to come. He said it's the gospel of the kingdom, and his kingdom's here and it's in you. Watch this. He said in John 17, Father, I'm closing with this. Please get this. Father, imagine Jesus. Father, he's about ready to go to the cross. He was slain before the foundation of the world for this moment. And he's about ready to go to the cross. And he said, Father, when they become one, just like we're one, then the world will know that you sent your son. Remember that, and let's live that. God bless you.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, so John 17, for those who don't know, we need to become one with the Lord as Jesus was one with God. And then we will truly, oh my gosh, I didn't write this clear enough. Truly something. Hold on, now I have to look it up. I can't even read my own writing. But yeah, I just love how he put that. I love that verse because it's like we can become one with the Lord as Jesus was one with the Lord. And Jesus was one with the Lord so much more than a lot of Christians are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And me too, personally. Like I need to do a better job at really seeking him and communicating with him and all that kind of stuff. But like that's a promise.
Yeah.
That we can become that close to the Lord as Jesus was with the Lord. Which is so powerful if you really think about it. We can have that relationship that the Lord Jesus had with his Father.
Yeah, definitely.
That's powerful and a powerful ally to have on your side.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was
and another thing that
really powerful.
I don't remember which verse it is, but another thing that goes along with that sort of is how would they know that you're a Christian or you're a follower of Christ is if you have love one for another. So if you love each other as Christ loved the church, then the world will see you and know that you're a Christian or a Christ follower.
Yeah, like walking out your faith and living that love. And love is so powerful. It's such a powerful tool, especially when you love despite how people treat you.
Yeah.
Like that is just like we kind of said earlier, turning the other cheek and that sort of thing. Like if you actually walk that out and live that out, people will notice that.
Oh yeah.
And people would be like, oh, there's something different about this person, and to give you like a little testimony this week, the past couple weeks, I've been trying to do like more outreach at work. I have these little Jesuses. I think I might have brought it up last week. He's hiding behind there. He's like sneakily hiding behind that little card there.
Yeah.
But it's like a little Jesus, and then there's like a little card that has like the church information on it and stuff, and like a little Bible verse. So I've been handing them out. I try to do one a day while I'm at work. So I don't know. Did I mention this last episode or no?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, cool. So I handed my first one out. It was probably like 2 Mondays ago. I handed it out to a homeless man. So it was like a homeless guy at a traffic light, which probably many people have seen over the years. So he was standing there with a sign. I don't remember what his sign said, but I didn't have any food or anything. So I rolled down my window and I looked out at him and I was like, I don't have any food for you, but I have a little Jesus. And I had that in my hand. And I was like, do you want him? And he looked at me and he said, I could always use a little more Jesus. And so he took the little baby, little Jesus, and took the thing, and he said thank you and stuff like that. And so that was the first one I handed out. And then since then, I've handed one out every single day. I handed one out to one of my coworkers, and I was like, "You want a little?" I was like, "I have a little mascot for you, a little mascot for the shop." And I was like, "Here you go," and I handed it to him, and he's like, "Is this a little Jesus?" He's like, "I need Jesus." You know what I mean? So like, boom, there was the second person. Third person, this kid that another kid I work with, I had talked to him about Jesus and about Christianity and stuff when I was training with him. And I was like, I got something for you if you want it. And I gave it to him. He's like, oh my gosh, is this a little Jesus? And I was like, he's like, yeah, I'll take it. I was like, that's awesome. You know, he was all excited and happy. And then I handed one out to a couple other people, but I'll finish with this last one. So I handed one out today. The one I handed out today was to another coworker who's been going through a struggle at home and stuff like that. And, you know, it's just, his life's been upended and just like a lot of change and stuff like that, you know, not to get into his personal life, but just, you know, we'll just say that much. And so I'd talked to him earlier about, you know, how my faith in the Lord got me through this past summer. And, you know, how, if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'd be. You know, I literally told him if it wasn't for the Lord, I'd be in an insane asylum.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, he was like, oh, wow, that's all, you know, that's powerful. And so then I gave him one today. And it's a little bit of a testimony, actually, because he had told me that, you know, if it wasn't for his circumstances, what happened?
Whoa.
Yeah, how weird was that? What was that?
Super weird.
I don't know what.
I don't even know how to explain that.
Yeah, it was like it sounded like a wave.
Yeah, like a
wave.
radio, like switching channels on your voice, though.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's what it sounded like to me. Like someone was trying to tune you out.
Oh, no
Like there was
kidding.
static, and your voice was like, what? Like it's,
Oh, strange. On my end, it sounded like like that, like wind or something.
so weird.
Anyway, get back to the testimony. So like he was like, if it wasn't for the circumstances I went through, you know, they basically said to me, the big guy was looking out for me. And this is before I had handed him the little Jesus. And so then I got the little Jesus and I was like, I got something for you. I was like, did I give you one of these yet? And I handed it to him. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is a little Jesus. I was like, he's like, I'm going to put him in my car. He's like, it's like literally Jesus can take the wheel.
Yeah.
You know, is what he said to me. So, so that's what I've been doing the past like couple weeks, kind of like handing them out and try to do like one a day and trying to be like faithful to the Lord, like to lay it upon my heart to give it to someone, you know, whether that's like a homeless man, somebody I'm working with, like whatever, you know, to try to hand one out every single day. So that's like something I've been doing lately. So a little bit of a testimony for you guys that,
That's
you know,
cool.
if you want to like outreach or you want to like do something, you can do something small like that, or just pray to the Lord and be like, Lord, you know, whether it's once a day, once a week, whatever, you know, ask the Lord to lay it upon your heart to talk to someone and then give you the courage to do it.
Yeah.
Because like I found that once I did it that first time with the homeless man, because I was the first one I handed out, like, because, you know, then like in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, is they're going to act negatively to this, or, you know, they're going to cuss me out, whatever. And even if that is the case, they're not cussing you out.
Yeah.
They're cussing the Lord out. You know, it has nothing to do with you. You know, so don't be like afraid like to do something like that, or like to like take that step of faith. But I will say, since I've been handing these out, every single person I've given one to has been very happy and thankful that I gave it to them. You know, so here am I a week before that being like, oh, you know, they're gonna like it, they're not gonna like it, you know, they like, you know, like you get in that whole mindset. So sometimes you just gotta step out in faith and just do it.
Yeah.
And once you do it that first time, I think it gets easier and easier. So a little bit of a testimony for you guys. Anyone out there that's like kind of like debating on whether or not they want to like talk to people more about the Lord or whatever, just ask the Lord for an opportunity.
You
know?
need to tell me where you got those, because I totally need to get some now.
Yeah, for sure. My church makes them. I'll have to ask them where they got them.
Okay.
Because they bought the little Jesuses and then they just like made up the little business card.
Are they Legos?
Hold on, let me take one out. It looks like it's like a Lego size.
Okay.
Yeah. Here he is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just like a little Jesus. He doesn't have a little thing on the bottom. Just
That
like
is really cool. I need to get some of those to hand out. Just the
Yeah.
Jesus, that would be. I mean, that's enough. You know.
Yeah. And then like the way you say it too, like the way I said it too, is just like, oh, you want a little Jesus, and I literally hand them a little Jesus.
Yeah. Because I mean, you know that. I mean, you could, you know, pray over those. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
just, you know,
Absolutely.
I mean, people. I mean, even if they are anti-Jesus or anti-Christianity or whatever, but you come up to them, hey man, you need a little Jesus, they'd be like, oh yeah, I'll take a little Jesus,
Yeah.
and goofing off. But once they have it and say, maybe that'll just like spark something in them when they look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a seed. It's a seed planted in their
Yeah,
heart.
definitely.
You know what I mean? So like every time they see it, they'll think of Jesus. They'll think of, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's a seed planted, and hopefully, you're faithful enough to hand it out, and the Lord will, take that seed and help it grow. Because sometimes someone had pointed this out to me. I don't know if it was something I was listening to or something someone had said, that like to not get discouraged like when you're planting seed like that, whether it's like a little baby Jesus or like a word that you say to someone, just because they don't come to Jesus in that very moment.
Yeah.
It's a seed planted. You never know what that seed will lead to. All of a sudden, a month, 2 months, 3 months from then, someone else talks to them about Jesus, and then they come to Christ that way. And they wouldn't have before because they didn't have that opportunity, and you didn't plant that initial seed. So, think about as like a farmer who plants seed in a field, right? You plant the seed, and if you just plant the seed and you walk away, you're like, well, there's no one came to Christ, and there's no crops, blah, blah, blah. But a few months later, all of a sudden there's crops, and there's, like the seed multiplies and it turns into a whole bunch more than what it was. So you never know what sort of small seed can turn into something bigger, but you have to be faithful to plant the seed to begin with.
Yeah.
So
there was this band. I want to find this lyric real quick because gosh, I cannot. I think it was a band called We Came as Romans. I don't know if they were a Christian band, but they had this one song. I know the vocalist actually committed suicide. Either committed suicide or accidentally, overdosed or something like that. Yeah, accidental overdose. They may have started out as a Christian band, but they had this song called "Plant a Seed," and the first verse of that song is like amazing. I'm trying to find it. Lyrics. Okay, so so it says like the first verse is, we've planted this seed, an ever-growing wonder, to a beautiful tree grow. And it says each branch outstretched and different from the rest. Where did the old have broken arms, some easier than the last? I mean, it talks about like, see, the right ones have grown to fill the gaps. Like he talks about old tree, and then you plant a seed and a new tree grows. So the right ones have grown to fill the gaps and are equal in love and trust, and all part of something that's much bigger than this. Through the trials of our tongues are tied to trying times, so many unsaid lies. I don't know. It's better in like song form instead of me reading it.
No, I get the gist of it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's essential. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I always took it as planting a seed, like of the gospel, in someone's heart. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you never know what that seed will grow into, but you have to be faithful to start that seed or plant that seed.
Yeah.
So and I think that's just a really super important thing that all Christians, because we're all called to go forth and make disciples and minister to people and be the light of the world, for Jesus, so
that's another sad thing to think about. All these bands that started out as a Christian band, and then they get deceived and get into drugs and stuff, and it just I mean, the devil just wreaks havoc that way.
Yeah, and it's very difficult too, especially in that sort of that's, I don't want to call it a job, but I mean it kind of is a job, but in that sort of field,
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's that stuff is all around you, you know, and the temptation is there so strong.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause especially when you're going on tour and, you know, a lot of the bands you tour with might not all be Christians, and the venues that you're playing in, and you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I could definitely seeing it be a place where you know, temptation is high,
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know, and you have to have a strong faith to resist all that stuff, you know. Resist the devil and he will flee, but you have to resist him, you know, and you start not resisting him, you know, you start, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? You start slowly, you know, giving into small things here and there. And then, you know, because that's how sin starts. It
Yeah.
always starts small. You know, people don't go out there being like, oh, I'm going to be an alcoholic, or I'm going to be, you know, addicted to this drug or that drug, or, you know, I'm going to, you know, whatever, cheat on my wife, or whatever the case may be. You know, people don't go out starting that way. It starts with a small sin.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
what's the word I'm looking for? A small, I can't think of the word, but it starts small, you
Yeah.
know, and then like one step at a time, and then you know, then it all of a sudden, then you're down the road and you're doing things you never thought you'd do,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and that's how sin always starts. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to guard your heart and you know, really hold the line, because if you don't, then you know, it'll lead to, you know, things that you would never do and when you first started out.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Uh,
that's how sin works.
that is. Another cool thing about that band is I just want to say that, I mean, like I said, I don't know if they're a Christian band. I think they were, but I'm not 100% sure. But their name is what made me think they're a Christian band for sure. Because it's called We Came as Romans, and I always took that as like, you know, Peter. Peter was a Roman, you know, he
Sure.
killed Christians and stuff. So it just made sense. We came as Romans, and then, you know, changed.
Yeah.
That's just, you know, what I took that to mean.
Yeah, for sure. No, well, I'll also check that band out. Are they a hardcore band?
Yeah, yeah. They're like a,
Cool.
I guess, screamo or whatever.
Yep. Okay. Sure. Yeah. No, for sure.
You know,
No, that's awesome.
yeah.
No, another great episode, a deep episode. I feel like this is one of our better episodes for sure. I mean, I think they're all great.
Yeah.
But
It would have been better if I wasn't sick, because I was
yeah, for sure.
sometimes having a hard time concentrating.
Yeah, or just trying to concentrate on breathing. Because when you're talking, if you can't breathe through your nose, you have to breathe through your mouth. So you can
Yeah.
only say like a few words at a time before you have to like stop and be like, you
Yeah.
know, and like breathe in. So yeah, no, I totally get it. But no, I thought it was a great episode. Yeah, I'm excited for people to listen to this if they haven't watched live. So, and we actually had a decent amount of people watching live this time.
Awesome.
So
On YouTube or on Rumble?
it's hard to tell. It doesn't say where they're coming from, so I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Cool.
Both.
Thanks, guys, for watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for watching. We actually had a couple comments too. I didn't mention them.
I saw that Laura had commented.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly it. Yep.
Yeah.
She had mentioned that you were in a spaceship.
I am. It's actually a Star Destroyer. So yeah.
That's what I figured. I thought it was. Every time I see that, I just can't help but think about the blooper where the guy hits his head on the door.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite
I mean,
clips.
it's a Imperial ship, so it could be.
Yeah,
But
that's true. That's true. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for another episode of Image the Invisible, not AFK discussions. I didn't make that mistake this time. So we'll be back not next week, but the week after.
Yep.
One of the things we'll be talking about is dealing with self-seeking and envy, and then I'm sure a million other things as well. So
Yep.
Take it easy, guys, and we will see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.